Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to this presentation where I'm going to talk about our paper titled Investigating the Concentration of High-Yield Investment Programs in the United Kingdom. The paper has been co-authored with my supervisor, Dr. Marie Masek. I would like to thank the chairs who allowed me to present the paper remotely. It is unfortunate that due to the visa issues, I have not been able to come to Genoa in person to present this paper and meet you all. So the Ponzi scheme was named after the famous conman, Charles Ponzi, who in the 1920s promised people with an enormous profit rate of return, which is 50% in 45 days or 100% in 90 days. He used to invest money into the international reply coupons or IRCs. IRCs basically allow a sender to pre-purchase a postage and include it in the correspondence. The receiver can then take these coupons to the post office and exchange it for a priority airmail postage stamps, which is needed to send a reply. He used to purchase them from one country and trade them for more valuable stamps in another country as a form of arbitrage. Now, arbitrage is not illegal, but he started using the investors' money to pay back the old investors, hence starting a Ponzi scheme. He used to do this and he earned millions of dollars in profits until the Boston Post started scrutinizing his scheme, and finally the LEAs got involved and the scheme collapsed. So a Ponzi scheme is an investment fraud that pays existing investors with the funds collected through the new investors. And don't worry, I'm not gonna talk about the prophecy scheme, but let's look into how the Ponzi scheme actually works. So there is a Ponzi scammer who starts a scheme and lure the victims to invest their money into his scheme, promising them high rates of returns and quick money back guarantees. Now, the investors get carried away because who doesn't want money, obviously, by sudden rate of return, and they invest their money. In order to get their profits, they start referring their friends and families and posting about these schemes on different forums, asking people to invest their money into these schemes. As soon as there is no new investors coming into the scheme, all the payouts closes and the Ponzi scammer runs away with the money, leaving the investors crying, angry, and frustrated. So high yield investment programs, or HYIPs as the short term is, it's basically an online Ponzi scheme. This is an example of a HYIP website. So HYIP websites do not disclose any information about the underlying investments that the HYIP's owner is doing and offer high rates of returns. Here we can see that this particular scheme is promising a 3.2% profit per day, enormous amount of money. So if it sounds too good to be true, then you know what to do. Let's talk about the life cycle of an HYIP. So the scammer creates an HYIP. The investors start looking and investing into the schemes. The scheme runs for some time, and as soon as the HYIP stops paying out because of various reasons, users start decreasing the ratings of these HYIPs on different forums, and very soon the HYIP closes and the scammer runs away with all the money that he made. I would also like to talk about the HYIP ecosystem a little bit. So there are different stakeholders. The first one are the kit developers who sell softwares to run HYIP and aggregator websites. The second one is the HYIP itself, which we already saw in the previous slides. Next are the investors, obviously, without which no scheme exists because they're the people who put the money into these schemes. Next are the aggregators who publish lists of HYIPs to promote and monitor these HYIPs. Then there are the referrers who are basically individual people who refer these schemes to different people in order to invest money into them and get their referral benefits. Then there are a few meta aggregators who basically collect and publish data from multiple aggregators. You would be thinking, why do we generally trust the aggregator data? So in line with the previous literature, we can see from this plot very clearly that aggregators agree 80% of the time with the start and the end dates of HYIPs, hence helping researchers like us to get the HYIP lifetime measurements. So this is how an aggregator website generally looks like, where the aggregator advertises different HYIPs. When we click on one of these HYIP threads, we see something like this, where the thread gives out information about the HYIP. For example, the investment plans that the HYIP is offering, the various types of currencies that it's accepting, and in which currencies people can withdraw their money, and other information. In some cases, it also provides technical details about the domain of the HYIP. Additionally, the aggregators also invest their own money into these schemes in order to monitor the HYIPs, and they display the payouts on their threads so the investors can see if the HYIP is paying or not. People can also create their account and become members on these forums and post comments about the HYIPs, rate the HYIPs, tell about the payouts, and also if they're not getting their money back. So we collected data between November 2020 and September 2021 by scraping the two most commonly used aggregators, HYIP.com and HYIPrank.com. We collected data about their lifetime, the contact numbers, the number of payment processors that these HYIPs are using, the number of social media platforms that they use, and also if they are licensed by one of the most commonly used kit developer called Gold Coders. So while researching, we noticed that there were these kind of tweets where people were mentioning that they were receiving mails from company's house addressed to a company or somebody else on their addresses where they have been living for quite some time. So Companies House is basically the official government body for registering a limited company in the UK with several other services being provided to the people. Uh, I would like to show you the distribution of HYIP, which was found in line with the literature in 2012, where we can see that United States is the country which is dominant for these HYIP schemes to be running from. However, after a decade, we can see in 2022 that even our data is suggesting something very different. United Kingdom has now become the most popular country from where these HYIPs are originating from. Therefore, we started collecting data about the places where these HYIPs claim to be from, whether it's a UK address or not, if they're registered with the Companies House or not, if they have a UK address which is valid, and if they have similar addresses to another HYIPs in the UK or not. So taking the same example of the same HYIP, let's investigate a little bit further. So we can see with this example that the HYIP provides an address where it claims to be from, and in this case, it's very clear that it's the United Kingdom. We can also see in the left side that there is a Companies House certificate, and it provides phone numbers starting from +44, which is the country code for United Kingdom. We can also see that it has various social media handles like Facebook, YouTube, Telegram, and the website is available in English and Vietnamese, which are two different languages, where English is the default. It's possible that they want to target Vietnamese speaking audience. So using the company number in the certificate we saw on the website, we can see the public record of this company in the company's house register. So the most important thing here is to look into when it was incorporated, the SIC code, which has been issued by the company's house. And we can see here that it clearly says it's a financial management company. Now, in the UK, we have an organization called the Financial Conduct Authority, which is responsible for verifying companies that want to conduct finance-related activities in the UK. But the FCA does not hold any record of this company. And of course, the company is not verified by the FCA to conduct financial management services in the country. Moving forward and investigating the address which this HYIP provided us, we can see that the address is a valid UK address, but not to be surprised, there is no mention of this company at this particular address. Well, we're not surprised because if you look for the address which they provided on Google Maps, we can see that the address is basically providing co-working spaces and ready-to-go offices, which can be easily misused by criminals. And in this case, the HYIP used such an address to register the company. So let's look into the survival analysis of HYIPs in 2012. And from this plot, we can see that the median lifetime was 28 days, which is not a high amount of days that an HYIP was surviving for. And they were pretty much collapsing almost immediately. Looking into the survival analysis from the data that we collected, there has been a major change in how these HYIPs have been running. We can see that the median lifetime is 43 days, but using survival analysis, we can see that it's more than 550 days. More than 80% of the HYIPs last for more than a year. And we can see that the HYIPs claiming to be from the UK follow a similar trend like the normal HYIPs. So now we want to look at the survival analysis of HYIPs in relation to the valid UK address. And we can see from this that the HYIPs with the invalid UK address tends to live for a longer time as compared to the ones with a valid UK address. Well, different attackers have different attacker strategies and we are not aware of them. We would assume that the benefits would be to just evade regulatory captures, since any scheme that does not live long enough does not capture the interest of the enforcement agencies. And then these schemes can basically just like start one after the another and they can play the system. So we also collected more independent variables to see how and what can affect the lifetime of these HYIPs. So we collected variables like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, perfect money, per year, and social media handles like Telegram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, where most of the HYIPs have been using to promote themselves. So this is taking the same example of the HYIP. We can see the Facebook page of this particular HYIP where it's trying to promote itself, having a public group. It also has a YouTube channel where it advertises about the HYIPs. And obviously a Telegram channel where most HYIPs use it to talk about their investments and schemes and other stuff. So I'm sure now the main question everybody's thinking is, what are the variables that are actually affecting the lifetime of the HYIPs? In order to do so, we ran a Cox proportional hazards model, and the results are very interesting. We could see that most support with evidence from the data is that the valid UK address affects the lifetime. It has a hazard rate of more than 5 times to increase the risk of collapse of an HYIP. And this result is significant at 99%. With limited evidence, we also see that Payeer, which is an electronic wallet, increases the lifetime of HYIP by almost 80%, whereas YouTube decreases the hazard rate by more than 80%, and Instagram is increasing the hazard rate by more than 8 times. We have limited evidence for these results. However, we believe that because Payeer allows user to withdraw and deposit money using cryptocurrencies and different options, it just allows user ease. As we saw, YouTube videos lure victims in order to convince them, telling and explaining their schemes and the HYIPs. Whereas Instagram is not exactly the place where an investor would actually go to find an HYIP. So we also have a few regulatory suggestions after looking into the whole research, where we would like to say that the companies like Companies House should actually verify documents for the applicants before providing them a limited company official number. Also, we would like to ask the agencies like the Financial Conduct Authority and the SEC to investigate into applicants who are trying to register businesses, asking for SIC codes like financial management, and we work in collaboration with companies like Companies House. So the conclusions are very clear that we have an updated data set of HYIPs using a semi-automated methodology. Most HYIPs survive for more than a year. Majority of these HYIPs claim to be from the UK, and more than half of the collected HYIPs are actually registered as a limited company in the UK. There's also very strong support that a valid UK address increases the risk of collapse of the HYIPs. And there's limited evidence that using Payeer and social media platforms like YouTube and Instagram affects the HYIP's lifetime at some significant levels. So thank you for coming to my talk and listening to it patiently. Please feel free to ask any questions and trust no one.